hard to dedicate. Exactly. It's a nice verse part of this. So there's a slide. Oh, I see. So I'll show the slide. So there'll be a slide. Yeah. So if I'm running behind, then I. That's okay. Don't worry. You can have some. Your time is your time. Share life. Yes. Share. Oh, wow.
This is our lovely friend. So speak to our friend, right? So he's here to help us all. So just don't be afraid of it. Just speak to us, and then so that people who will be joining us online will have an opportunity. So I'll send to
Is that the only mic?
I will look for handheld. I actually did prepare something. Or you saying filter the sentence? Okay, okay, yeah, yeah. Okay, yes. I'll do what I want.
Should we do a test of the mic before we start? Because I'm not. It might. We should check the volume.
Yes.
I don't want. Not this one. She has a different. Because I go between here and sitting here to perform. When I'm here, I mean, yes, you do need that. Maybe I need it or not.
You do. Yes.
It's not for this group. It's for the broadcast. Exactly. So we're just going to test this out. I think Christy has that. I'll be here. No, great, Christy. You're doing a great job.
Is that okay? I'm sorry. Oh, yes, thank you. Hello, check. Yes, perfect. Thank you.
Could you also try?
Check, check. 1, 2. Hello, good afternoon. Yes. Hello, checking. 1, 2. Thank you. Switch it. Turn it.
Oh my god.
Try.
So where should I put?
You can speak. You can try there. Can I see if it works now? It's unmute.
It's on mute now?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Or you can hear me now? Where is it coming? Oh, testing. 1, 2, 3, testing.
I sent to me, and I will read back to you.
Great,
Yeah,
thank you.
at your phone.
Too loud?
Speakers are there.
Ah,
So
okay.
just make sure you don't put your right?
To the left.
Hello, everyone. Hi, can you see me? Hello, hi, everyone. Welcome. Welcome to Emmanuel College Wednesday Gathering. And this week, we are delighted to have different guests to lead us into the celebration of Lunar New Year and to explore the meanings and wisdoms behind it. So, in a short while, David will introduce the guests to us, and you'll have a chance to meet them all. So, as a community of people from diverse cultural and religious backgrounds, we know that there are people here from within the traditions represented from the front, and there are people here who inhabit other faith identities. It is so important to us that everyone feels welcome and able to observe or participate however you feel most comfortable. So during the gathering, if you feel need some fresh air, you are welcome and open and feel free to step outside of the room or and come back anytime you feel comfortable and willing to. If you have any questions or feedbacks or comments about today's gathering, or feel free to speak to us with David. Where's David? Okay, there he goes. And also anyone from a spiritual life team, and I'm one of them, and all those beautiful people waving their hands. So please speak with us. And thank you once again for joining us today as we learn, explore, and experience the sacred together.
Happy Lunar New Year, everyone. Um, my name is Halem Yoon, and I am the Research Fellow for the Center for Religion and its Context, as well as CANAT, which is the Committee on Asian North American Asian Theologies. Before I invite you all to read the land acknowledgement together, I actually invite you to briefly close your eyes to think about the land we are currently located in. Let us begin by taking a deep breath in and out. I invite you to first think about the formation of the land, the air, the water, the trees. And let us imagine the process of this land being formed as how it is now. Now I invite you to reflect on the lives that lived on this land before us, the indigenous people of the land, the joy, the life-giving experiences they had, and then the pain of being taken away that the hurtful history behind this land. And now I invite you to think about a better future for this land, the reconciliation, the healing, and think about one thing, even if that is very small, that you could do to bring healing to this land. And now slowly, I invite you to open your eyes. And let us read the land acknowledgement all together by reading, "We acknowledge the sacred land on which Emmanuel College and the University of Toronto operates. It has been a site of human activity for many thousands of years. This land is the territory of the Huron-Wendat and Petun First Nations, the Seneca, and the Mississaugas of the Credit River. The territory was the subject of the Dish with One Spoon Wampum Belt Covenant, an agreement between the Iroquois Confederacy and Confederacy of the Ojibwe and allied nations to peaceably share and care for the resources around the Great Lakes. Today, the meeting place of Toronto is still the home to many Indigenous people from across Turtle Island, and we are grateful to have the opportunity to study, live, love, and work in the community on this territory. And so we seek to be mindful of broken covenants and the need to strive to make right with all our relations."
It's my honor to introduce the guests. I'll introduce myself quickly first. My name is David Kim Craig, and I help to organize our Wednesday gatherings. So it's really wonderful to be in front of you. Thank you, Hedim, for the land acknowledgement. We have three groups of people, I suppose, I want to single out for a special welcome today. The first are the group for the Committee for Asian and North American Asian Theologies. This group has been around in various forms for many years, and Wening, who is our Professor Emeritus, is here. Where is Wening? Oh, there she is. Wonderful. And Reverend Joseph Kung is here too. Joseph will be sharing something with us during the service, our gathering. The Kanat is really responsible for our first Lunar New Year celebration here at Emmanuel College, which occurred in 1996 and has been occurring ever since. So it's wonderful to have Kanat with us today and to participate in the legacy that they started. I also would like to welcome our wonderful friends from Chamshan Temple. Those of us who had the great pleasure of sharing in the lunch today will be especially grateful. For myself, I started Lent today. I've got the mark of the cross, and part of Lent is fasting. But as far as I'm concerned, fast doesn't start till tomorrow. So it's wonderful that you could be here, Reverend Venerable Daishi, the other venerables, and our wonderful friends who were so hospitable to us and so friendly. It's great that you could be here. I also want to extend a very special welcome to Jeffrey Kapchik. Close enough. Jeffrey is a wonderful, has been, is a music ethnomusicologist, I'm sorry, who specializes, I believe, in Tibetan music, and also encouraging, supporting spiritual discipline with music. So we're very, very fortunate that Jeffrey could be here today to help us to experience a little bit of a Buddhist spiritual experience. Thank you very much. And with that, I'll invite us to continue.
So how are you all feeling today? How's lunch? Good stuff? Yeah, so good. Yeah. So we're here to celebrate, and I'm going to share with you some of the little things about celebration or how do we celebrate Chinese New Year, Lunar New Year in Hong Kong, the place where I come from. So, wait. So this is me. I intentionally not blow this up too big so that you can't see very clearly. But you can recognize there's a little me in here. So the smallest one, smallest person. That was a picture when I think I was like 5 or 6 years old. So a couple of years ago. So, and to be honest with you, this is not Chinese New Year. It was like I think Mid Autumn Festival, but then that's my favorite family picture taken with kind of like Chinese costumes, which I'm kind of trying to dig whatever I could find at home today. So this kind of like Chinese looking day for me today. So for Lunar New Year, I'm born. Oh, by the way, I'm Christy. Hi, I'm Christy Dang. I'm born and raised in Hong Kong, and my father, Chinese by race, born in Japan, lived his majority of his life in Hong Kong. Of course, met my mother, who was born in Indonesia, and I met my father in Hong Kong. So set up the whole family in Hong Kong. So here we are. I'm the youngest of 6 siblings. So kind of like, you know, I won't say typical, but very regular, common family. So what do we do like as common family in Hong Kong when we celebrate Chinese New Year? Of course, food is something very important, core to our culture. So there are a lot of different kind of food in Lunar New Year you can imagine, but I especially highlight this 3 because these are something so dear to me because my mother used to make all this lovely Chinese food, particularly on the first day of the Lunar New Year. And my favorite top of the list is this 萝卜糕, what we call the turnip cake. Yes. So I tell you what, each family has their own special recipe, but my my home secret ingredient is ketchup. If you ever haven't tried that, I tell you, it takes you to the next level. You have to dip lok in ketchup. And this Cantonese chow mein, soy sauce fried noodles, is also something which is so delicious, which my mom makes it so good. It's fine, it's simple, but super delicious. You can, not ketchup this time, but some spicy sauce will do. And the very comforting, comfy foods is congee with crullers. Well, it's like a pastry, Chinese pastry. You dip it into congee, super delicious. You like it. So this is some very simple, but reminds me of home and warmth and family gatherings. So when we visit our families, we also introduce this to our families. So a lot about food, but that's just from my experience. So that's not very fair. I know you don't get a taste of that. So let's get a taste of some Chinese greetings. You will all be participating. So guess you may hear people say this 恭喜发财 in maybe in Chinatown area, but what I'm going to teach you to say together is Cantonese. That's my mother tongue. So guys, you can just yell it out. So the first syllable there, gong, let's do it together. Gong. Hei. Fat. Cai. All together, 恭喜發財, go. 恭喜發財, which actually means congratulations, wishing you all the prosperity and goodness. So in the Chinese, Chinese customs, we do like little girls always wear this little pocket, a little purse with them to put all the lights in there. So when you greet someone, you say 恭喜发财. Your senior people who married will give you this little wrap pocket in there, so you will be prosperous, have a very good year. So say that again, 恭喜发财. Brilliant. So this year is the year of the dragon. So the first character there, long. Say that again, long. Means dragon. Wow, guys, you speak Cantonese. Hey, I'm sorry, ma. Say that again, ma. Ma means horse. So dragon and horse. The third syllable there, jing. Good. Say that again, jing. Jing means like high spirited, energize, energy. Jing is good energy. The last one there, sun. Sun is divine, godly. So saint. So you are strong and with strength, like the dragon, like the horse, with up, high spirit and energy. So say that again, 龙马精神. Oh gosh, you guys really can't speak it. So all together, let's do that again. 恭喜發財，龍馬精神. Wonderful! Happy New Year!
Oh, surely make me feel at home, with Christie's presentation. Let me see. Well, I'm going to tell you something about the Lunar New Year or Chinese New Year, what you do and what you don't do. Let me see. Okay, because, it's just a day. It's just a period of time. But as the episode to the Roman has said, one esteem one day better than another, why another esteem all days alike. Some days are special, some days are different. Okay, the next one. Because it's special day, you do special things. For example, today is Ash Wednesday, so I saw a lot of you have a cross, with dust, on their forehead. That's it. Oh, today can be Lunar New Year or Chinese New Year. Today also Valentine Days. And that's what we do. There are some days in the calendar we find it special. It may be your anniversary or your birthday. Some days we think that is special. For example, Valentine's Day, then we connect it with roses, things like that. Okay. And what you do, during the Chinese New Year or Lunar New Year. Well, the special day, you do special things. For example, after I come to Canada, I heard something like that. I never heard of this saying, something old, something new, something borrowed, something blue. I never heard of that when I was in Hong Kong. So supposedly the bride gonna wear something like that too. So I think with Lunar New Year Day, well, you wear something new, with something new, something red. You always wear something red. And there's something noisy. I later on talk about it. You make something noisy. So you wear new clothes. And then you have a new haircut before the new year. But I didn't do it this year. And it's tradition, in the Hong Kong society for a long, long period of time that the barber can charge you double the week prior to the Chinese New Year. So this is the way they get their bonus. So if you want a haircut 1 week prior to the Chinese New Year or Lunar New Year, you pay double. That's what you do. And then you always wear something red, like the next one, red clothes, things like that. And then you have a haircut, a new haircut, that's what you do. Another thing is you have to make noise. So in Chinese, you have to make noise with firecrackers. It all go back to the mythology, say that the year Nin used to be an animal like a sphinx, terrorize people. So you do the firecrackers, make noise to keep them away. So firecrackers. In fact, when I grew up in Hong Kong, the I was every day I was looking forward. Every year I was looking forward Chinese New Year because the first thing Chinese New Year you got like pocket money. Christy just shows you your question money. The second thing is in Hong Kong at that time before 1967, you are allowed for 3 days to buy, to shop, and play with firecrackers. Oh, that's the best time. But after 97, because riots come about, and then people use the gunpowder to make homemade bombs. So no more. So probably by the time Henry grow up, there's no more firecracker. But for me, firecracker is a must. Also for Chinese, the firecracker consider one of the four great ancient inventions of Chinese people. The first one is compass, firecracker, gunpowder, paper making, and block painting. That's what you do, Okay. Let me see. So, what do you do in New Year time? You utter positive statement. You always say something positive, something nice, cleansing your speech, and you eat vegetarian on New Year's Day. Last year we talked about it because the god of kitchen, went on leave, the day before Lunar New Year. So the deity of the kitchen is no longer there. So you don't cook on New Year Day. You eat vegetarian food. So we are doing right, So we have vegetarian here. There are also certain things you don't do. That is, you don't do or say things negative or malicious. Certain things are strange. For example, you might find it strange. For example, even in Hong Kong, it's a tropical area, subtropical area, it's hot. And you think about Cantonese people love to bath and shampoo every day. But in New Year period or New Year day, you don't shampoo. Some even don't take a bath, not on New Year day. Maybe after the midnight clock, you do it. And then you don't sweep the floor. Why? Because all these things may wash away or the good fortune or the blessing away. So you want to keep the good blessings, good fortune and the blessing. You don't shampoo and you don't sweep the floor. You don't do that. And then later on, find out there's another thing. It only happened in Guangdong area, southern China. Northern China has no such practice. That's you don't buy shoes during Lunar New Year's. You buy them before that. You have new shoes on Lunar New Year day, but you don't buy shoe during the Lunar New Year. The reason is because the Cantonese, when you talk about shoe, is high. High in Chinese sounds like a grief. It's something negative. So you don't say that. So you don't go to buy shoes. You buy it beforehand. So on and on. It's very simple. During Chinese New Year, special time, be positive. And because, wow, it's going to make things all new. Looking for the better year of the dragon. Thank you.
I was also born and raised in Hong Kong, so thank you, Christy and Joseph. Your presentation brought back many old memories. I also make turnip cake every year myself. I never imagined that it could go with ketchup, so I'll give that a try. So it's Year of the Dragon, and I'm going to share with you something around the meaning of dragons. So the image of the Chinese dragon is believed to have originated from the fusion of various tribal totems. So there are many totems in ancient China, and these totems were associated with different tribes and their identities. They were also used to record myths, ethnic customs, and the origins of these tribes. So that could include oxen, rooster, horse, etc. So all of these were used as symbols for different tribes. Dragon, as an amalgamation, occurred in the aftermath of a pivotal event that saw the convergence of diverse tribes, each bringing its own emblematic totem into a collective fold. So this confluence of totems represents the melding of different cultural identities into a singular cohesive, sorry, cohesive civilization. And this explains the characteristics of the Chinese dragon known to us today, featuring the antlers of a deer. So let me see if, so if you take a look at this image of the dragon, you could see the antlers of, um, of a deer, the head of a crocodile, the neck of a snake, the claws of a hawk, the the palms of a tiger, and the ears of a cow. So it's different totem symbols merged into a single one. Chinese dragons are deeply intertwined with water and meteorological phenomena in popular belief systems, viewed as sovereigns over moving bodies of water, such as waterfalls, rivers, and seas. The dragon is also revered as the arbiter of rain, embodying the masculine force of creation. In their role as masters over water and weather, dragons are often portrayed in a more anthropomorphic manner. Each early images of dragons in China, however, do not always denote a creature emblematic of peace, auspiciousness, wisdom, and good fortune that we would like to believe nowadays. Quite on the contrary, historically, the Chinese dragon symbolized one thing only, and that is the imperial authority of the emperor of China. So, serving as an emblem of supreme power, emperors adorned themselves in robes with dragon motifs as a sign of their imperial status. And only the emperors and selected high officials are allowed to wear robes with, it's not showing clearly here, but I hope you see that on the front, side, they wear robes with this dragon motif. And what I'm going to show you here is that you can see that, this dragon has 3 claws. This is 4 clawed and 5 claws. So the 5 clawed dragons were designated for use by the emperors only, whereas the 4 clawed and the 3 clawed dragons could be presented to other princes and high officials. So the dragon within the Chinese culture assumes different roles. It is at once mystical and divine, hailed as the preeminent leader among the mythical animals. And if you know the Chinese, how do you call that, zodiac animals, there are 12 of them, and dragon is the only one which is mythical in nature. So the dragon wields power to summon wind and rain, thereby exerting dominion over the elements. It also stands as a celestial bridge linking the heavens and the earth. The reverence afforded to the dragon in ancient China is profound, with its image frequently invoked as a symbol of nobility, authority, and imperial power. Moreover, its power and auspicious essence is celebrated, making it a common emblem in rituals and ceremonies, heralding good fortune. And you may have heard that there is the phrase that the Chinese sometimes identify themselves as descendants of the dragon. Uh, that, however, is a relatively recent phenomenon arising from a misconception that began in the late 1970s. The notion gained popularity following the widespread success of a song titled Descendants of the Dragon, which resonated with Chinese communities across China, Taiwan, and Hong Kong. So, Sean, can you help play a short clip of this song so that you know how this sounds like? And I found a YouTube video of this with English subtitle. Okay, so let's just stop here. It's more or less like a folk song with these folk elements, a very simple tune. But if you get what I tried to share with you earlier, given the dragon's association with imperial authority and the emperor, it would have been inconceivable for ordinary Chinese civilians to assert lineage from the dragon, a privilege that was strictly reserved for the realm of nobility and the imperial family. So therefore, it is a misinterpretation to exclusively link the symbolism of the dragon with Chinese cultural identity. That the dragon was featured on the national flag during the Qing dynasty in the 17th century also reflected the imperial power rather than cultural identity. The dragon motif has also been embraced as a national emblem by Vietnam in the early 20th century. So, by the way, we are also celebrating the Vietnamese Lunar New Year on the same day with the Chinese one this year. So, they don't always fall on the same day, but this year it's special. It is also an important symbol in Japan and Korea. David, for example, wrote about the Canadian missionary work in Korea in the city of Yongjeong, or Dragon's Well. These uses of dragon illustrate the broader cultural and historical significance of dragon imagery across various Asian societies. This shared cultural heritage underscores the complexity and diversity of dragon symbolism beyond its association with any single nation or ethnicity. Within the context of, yeah, there you go, of Chinese cosmology and philosophy, there is the principle of the unity of heaven and humanity, or 天人合一, which posits that the moral conduct and behavior of the emperor mirror the natural order. This is especially so when emperors were often referred to as the son of heaven. This belief underpins the notion that emperors' virtues, or lack thereof, are reflected in the consequences within the natural world. Consequently, periods marked by natural disasters such as floods, earthquakes, and famine were historically interpreted as indicators of the emperor's moral failings. In response to such calamities, emperors in previous times would publicly acknowledge their shortcomings, issuing apologies to their subjects. These acts of contrition were not mere formalities, but served as solemn commitments to adopt a more benevolent governance, underlying the emperor's responsibilities towards his people. Otherwise, this situation could serve as a pretext for adversaries to destabilize the regime, asserting their acquisition of the mandate of heaven as justification for their actions. So my late professor Julia Ching used to talk a lot about the mandate of heaven in the classes that I took with her. This philosophical stance of the unity of heaven and humanity is epitomized in the I Ching, um, or, well, sometimes known as the Book of Change, a text revered not only for its divinatory application, but also for its profound philosophical insights. So there are 64 symbols here, and they are constructed by solid and broken lines. So it's 2 to the power 3, if you know what I mean. So there are 64 combinations altogether. And the I Ching contains, the 64 hexagrams, making of 6 lines, symbolic representations used for divination, with the very first one here, the number 1 here, composed of 6 solid lines, or 6, the yin and yang, positive, negative, masculine, feminine kind of dualities. So the first one is composed entirely of the yang principle. And the readings, of the meanings of those 6 lines offer us some insights about the integral relationship between the personal conduct and the broader cosmic and natural order. So, I'll be quick to go through these 6 lines. So it reads from the bottom to the top, and each of these lines carries some meanings. So the first line, let me see. So the first hexagram through its allegory of the dragon's journey, so they're all about dragons, intricately maps out a spiritual and moral odyssey that mirrors the essential stages of human development and leadership. This cycle initiates with the potential that lies dormant within us, akin to the dragon concealed in the depths, awaiting the right juncture for its powers to be unveiled. This phase underscores a period of preparation and accumulation, where the virtues of patience and introspection are paramount. It reminds us that true strength and wisdom often require a phase of quiescence, where external accolades are not the focus, but rather the cultivation of inner resilience and principles. So transitioning from the potential to action as the dragon emerges into the field signifies the pivotal moment of putting virtues into practice. This emergence is not merely an act of visibility, but a deliberate engagement with the world, driven by sincerity and a deep-seated commitment to one's values. It highlights the importance of authenticity in interactions and the impact of genuine virtue on one's surroundings. The dragon's appearance symbolizes the readiness to contribute positively to the world exercising leadership with a foundation of moral integrity. And the subsequent positions further elaborate on this journey, emphasizing the continuous efforts required to maintain one's course, the strategic patience necessary to discern the right timing for actions, and the pinnacle of leadership achieved on the fifth line here, when one's virtues elevate them to a position of influence and guidance. The cycle, sorry, um, where is it? The cycle, emperors and sorry, I'm losing track of my notes here. Should be page 5 here. Yeah. The cycle culminates in a moment of reflection, prompted by the potential for overreaching, which is the last one, illustrating the, the delicate balance required in leadership and personal growth. This final phase serves as a cautionary reminder of the limitations inherent in all endeavors and the need for humility, even in a phase of significant achievements. So the narrative woven through the positions, the 6 positions here, serves as a philosophical guide for leadership and personal development. It champions the virtues of patience, waiting for the opportune moment to act, sincerity in one's actions and engagements, and humility in both success and ambition. This cycle of development, action, and reflection offers timeless insights into the pursuit of excellence and embodiment of virtuous leadership. So in the I Ching, the Book of Change, within this philosophical context, the dragon emerges not merely as a mythological figure, but as a symbol deeply intertwined with moral and ethical conduct, offering a reflective lens on our actions. This year of the dragon invites us to internalize the virtues the dragons represent, which are patience, sincerity, humility, and wisdom. So let's embrace those virtues. Thank you.
I like to see what I'm doing. Okay. Happy New Year, everyone. As we say in Tibetan language, Losar Tashi did it. Losar meaning lo, meaning year, Sar meaning new. Tashi did a greeting of may you have auspiciousness, or may there be auspiciousness. But of course, these are much deeper words in a sense. I just give a very superficial but meaningful gratitude for welcoming me to celebrate with you on this day. And first of all, to Emmanuel College for inviting me. And it's really wonderful. I was here on the Buddha Day, celebrated on December 7th, and it was really very, very special, actually. It was the Toronto Buddhist Church offering lunch at that time, and today, again, beautifully, Chamshan Temple offering. And it's wonderful for me personally, on a personal level, to reconnect with Shifu and other members of the Chamshan Temple, because about 24 years ago, in between 2000 and 2002, we did several events together. Actually, a prayer for world peace at the ROM, and we were very much entwined, myself and my teacher, whose picture you'll see shortly, Punso Rabge. So it's really a wonderful, meaningful time, I think, to reconnect. And And I wanted to say that we were talking, Christy, as we were planning this event. I said, should we have a theme? What about the theme of renewal? And she said, yeah, that's a common theme. Yeah, we do that on the New Year. We recommit to promises. This is part of what we do. And I think that part of renewal is also re-energizing possibility. And one question I'm familiar with from my experience of some years with Tibetan Buddhist practices, and also the attention more recently to the engagement with science and, let's say, the secularization of mindfulness practices, in a sense. What is it about meditation that we can bring into our lives that's meaningful, where you don't have to be religious necessarily, but from a well-being perspective, something profound can possibly shift in you, the possibility of shifting from one state, one emotional state, to another. And so my interest personally as an ethnomusicologist interested in well-being and health is also, how can music help us to shift? And that comes together with, in a strange way, with my interest in traditional Buddhist practices, where a close care and attention to the preservation, the interest in living traditions. So musicologists and ethnomusicologists, I'll just say briefly, musicologists will perhaps study Bach and Mozart and Beethoven, wonderful works, masterworks, Yellow River Concerto, wonderful works. But ethnomusicologists are dealing with something a little more challenging, living traditions that might even be endangered. So taking care and learning from a living practitioner. And how do we care for a tradition? So I'll talk a bit about that. But one question that comes to me here, and I'd like it to just float around in the air, and I'll come back to this because I have a model pedagogically of concentric circles. I like to introduce a concept and then come back and go deeper, if that's okay. Are you open to this? So wonderful, thank you. I appreciate the indulgence. You'll see that things will reconnect, okay? Would you believe me for a moment? All right, because I haven't even gone to the second slide. But really the question I'd like all of us to ask, and I really believe that at any given moment of any given day or night, we have a question inside us. Like if you get very quiet for a moment, our inner voice, in terms of, what we are actually saying to ourselves, can be quite dynamic. And a lot of us live there in these questions. So if you just, even if I'm quiet for 5 seconds, what is the question that automatically comes to your mind? You don't have to say it out loud. This is your journey. Did you hear it? A question come up in your own mind? And a lot of us actually have an answer. If we go a little deeper, we'll hear our own wisdom answer. Just for a moment, maybe 7 to 10 seconds, see if an answer comes up for you. Did you get it? Wonderful. I'd invite you to journal about it if you'd like, if we were doing a workshop. But one of the questions that I have, and I've noticed spending time in Tibetan educational settings, especially primary schools where I've taught in Tibet, and this is similar atmosphere to what I experience with you here at Emmanuel, actually. And it's how do we bring compassion into our lives? How do we bring compassion into our lives? And in these educational settings in Tibetan schools, what I found really moving is that kids will wake up at 5 a.m. even though their classes start at 7 a.m. and they'll start to tutor those who are slower, those who need a little remedial help, creating a kind of an educational community of care. And I get that same vibe, if you will, if you'll allow me that vibe, at Emmanuel. Every time I step my toenail into Emmanuel, people are so kind to me. And I'm just saying this because I think it's very important. As you renew commitments for this year, how are you committed to bringing compassion into your lives and to each other's lives here at Emmanuel? Because it is a very precious space that you're co-creating. So I would just offer that. And when we say, how do we bring compassion into our lives? Let's flip it. How do we make a compassionate resolve to be there for others' lives, for others' experiences? So I don't know if that's connecting with you at all. Are this connecting? Okay, wonderful. So Henry, thank you. Professor Shu mentioned in a very elaborate and dynamic way the attention to ethics and the importance of ethics. And I just want to say that I recognize I'm not a Tibetan person, and what I'm going to be presenting is a Tibetan tradition. So I want to share with you very briefly. If we were having a course, I would go into details about this. But I went to Tibetan scholars and I asked, you know, I'm studying with this Tibetan master, Phuntsar Rabgye, who is now 88 years old. This is a picture from about 97, I think it was. We did a colloquium together. I guess I've been studying this tradition for some years. In any event, yeah, I asked, what would, you know, I'm studying with a master who studied this tradition since the time he was 14 years old in the 1930s in Tibet. What would be a useful contribution to Tibetan scholarship, to Tibetan studies and Buddhist studies from an ethnomusicological perspective? How could I study the music of this tradition in a way that would be meaningful, not just for one more guy getting a PhD, which I told my teacher many times, I don't need a PhD, I can pick another subject. I just want to study Chi with you because this tradition is so powerful, so beautiful, so precious. I'm gaining so much personally and spiritually from this study that I will pick another study. If at any moment you feel I'm doing harm to this tradition that you've been carrying, you know, going back 1,000 years, I will switch it out. He said, just keep going, it's fine. So he's a very critical analytical person, and his two daughters, you might know one of his daughters, Tashi Rabgye, who's an alumni of Mention, and she's also a Rhodes Scholar and a professor at George Washington University. And his other daughter also a Commonwealth Scholar. Anyway, very impressive, a home of intellect, of intellectual foment. Very, very special person, and he took me under his wing, and I studied this tradition with him. So I received basically two most important pieces of guidance from Tibetans, okay? One was from Tashi, this is her father, who said, receive as full a transmission as possible, if you can. What does that mean? That means learn how to understand this tradition in the very, without critical analysis from, I'm a music theorist, I'm a composer, I learned across the way here across in the Faculty of Music how to analyze music like nobody's business, which you'll see in a moment. But I received this tradition by rote, in the traditional way, teacher to student, which is very rare these days. It's usually taught in a group, in a group setting. So that precious one-to-one transmission, I learned so much about pedagogy in the Buddhist tradition and what is actually transmitted musically and spiritually, that I made a book, and it just got published and released on February 1st. It's called The Sound of Vulture's Wings by SUNY Press. It's coming out with SUNY Press. Came out with SUNY Press. I can't believe it's out. I haven't held a copy yet in my hands. Apparently it's being delivered this afternoon. But the point is, my gratis copies are 14 days late, but it's fine. I don't mind. In any event, one of the main points of this practice is giving from the heart. So I was playing with these two titles because they're both things I want to talk about today. One is the fact that, if I can go back a slide, it's not letting me go back, but that we move from a performance-centered practice to a practice-centered performance. We're interested in practice, but when you're first learning the instruments, it's all about performance. And only after months and years do you gain the ability to practice. So you need to be patient. And the two pieces of advice I got was, as I mentioned, receive as full a transmission. And the Dalai Lama's translator, Thupten Jinpa, oh really, said, it would be useful if you can notate the tradition. And I thought, well, I can't really notate because in ethnomusicology at that time, it was seen as heretical to notate an oral tradition. I'm being given a time limit, so I'll move ahead. And I just want to say that Chi, what I'll present, is a unique expression in the Buddhist performing arts that's in line with traditions of contemplative solitary retreat and with community building of Sangha. And the performance practices, whether solo or group practice, have to do with the setting. It's very much based on what's needed in terms of the prayer. The transforming, mental transforming of the body into all things needed and desired by others, it's a very deep and involved concept, which I'll discuss at some point later. Here, I just wanted to mention that Chu takes place here. A Tibetan woman 1,000 years ago created this practice, and it's done in monasteries, but also in these places of wilderness. And if you notice in this image that Tibetans have created of the diversity on the Tibetan plateau of where peoples live and their different costumes of dress, in the upper left corner, you see the monastic ensemble performances, right? Same thing here, another representation. In the upper corner, you see this that particular tradition. But Machik created this tradition. And these are her students and disciples. And we can have a close-up of her teacher, Padampa Sangye, who came from India and taught her. And these are 20th century teachers. The middle one is considered to be the Dalai Lama of Mongolia, Jetsun Tampa Rinpoche. And Pala, and I studied with Pala, and he's also a student of these masters I just showed you. The teacher-to-disciple transmission I mentioned, but you also have in monastic settings thousands of nuns together in a nunnery performing and practicing together. And then you have, excuse me, that just jumped ahead. Oops. You can see here, if I were to play the video, if there's time, it's tremendous. At nighttime, thousands, about 10,000 people practicing together. But it really is this difference between, in the middle column, the monastic ensemble and the Chu ritual, quite different aesthetics. And I would just draw your attention to the instrumentation, number 6, where each instrument, specifically I'll focus on the drum, has particular symbolism that changes depending on your level of practice. So beginners are taught one way to think of it, but as you advance, you are taught differently. So for example, can you hear me? Okay. So the beginners are taught that beginners are taught that the conventional bodhicitta and ultimate bodhicitta, so conventional reality that we experience right now together here, and the ultimate reality of our interdependent nature, these are happening simultaneously, the two beaters. So we are experiencing almost like a deceptive reality, but there is also an ultimate reality to this very moment. That's on the beginner level. On the more advanced, so while you're singing, while you're chanting, that can be happening for you as a beginner. You see, it depends on your level of engagement. This is the dynamic aspect of this tradition. What you're ready for, you engage in. And it's kind of like a metaphor on the new year. What you're ready for, you engage in. So on the advanced level, because sound is impermanent, sound is produced by air conduction, bone conduction. There's all kinds of factors that go into our experience of this sound. If you have the gift of hearing, this is clearly impermanent. It's produced. And because something's produced, that means it's empty of inherent existence. And if it's empty, that means we can bring so much into possibility, which is a great thing to think about on the new year. We can have the possibility for being compassionate and combining that with this understanding of the possibility of becoming. So, for my next trick, I'd like to introduce, see this, it's not really cooperating. Okay, so there's mantras, there's melodies, everything has its symbolism, and for each single chant and every syllable, there are months of teachings, years of teachings. And in the liturgy happens very quickly, as you'll notice. And when it happens quickly, you need to already have studied deeply beforehand in order for, in the context of the ritual, to access those studies. Do you know what I mean? So it's a tantric ritual, but you're relying on sutric study. Does this make sense? So I would like to introduce. Okay, and the 7-branch offering practice. This has a particular kind of design. Many of you will be familiar with this. Prostrating, paying homage, offering to all the Buddhas, confessing, rejoicing, requesting the Buddhas to teach, requesting the Buddhas not to pass away, and dedicating any merits to the gaining of enlightenment for all beings. I see you want to take I can send it to you after. I want to go to the next slide because, can you go back one? So if you notice here, rhythm is being used as a mnemonic. Rhythm and melody will come together as a mnemonic. I will perform it first and then come back. Remember the concentric circles idea? I might just turn this off. It seems to be quite live. You turned it off? Okay. I feel like I'm still mic'd. How's this? Can you hear me? So what's happening here is that qualities that you're studying, qualities about the mind, about, how should we say, qualities that we have are being highlighted in threes. And then the fourth syllable is the Tibetan word for three, sum. And this is repeated throughout the entire prayer. After the first four verses of homage, this is like a device in the middle. This is one of 13 melodies with a particular, almost like an emotional quotient that helps the practitioner to focus on the fact that there's three of something to recall. Does that make sense? So you have inner, outer, secret offerings, and you'd have teachings deeply inside your heart from your teachers on what the inner offerings mean. The outer offerings you're visualizing from inside, and the secret offerings, as well as the offering of suchness. You're also confessing all negativities from bodies committed through body, speech, and mind. You're thinking about, you're recalling them, but it happens very quickly. So the suffusion of meditations on each single syllable before the practice, before you engage in the music, is so important. And one thing I wanted to debunk, one thing I wanted to leave you with is many people think of Tibetans and tantric things as wandering yogis in the wilds, but it's much more involved. It's decades at the feet of a lama, studying carefully, debating concepts, analyzing very carefully, and meditating, contemplating. And then when you finally do the ritual can bring to life a transformative experience, but only based on those years and years of study. Does that make sense? So you're bringing all that study, all that compassion, and the changing of the mind all together. It's really quite special. So I wanted to share that with you. And this is a Tibetan language if you've never seen it. This is the text. There's no notation for the tradition. So I notated it based on my teachers and many lamas' requests. And I talk about the problem of that in my book. Can you go ahead one more, please? Next slide. So I notated the melody. And the drum beat itself, you might have noticed, dum dum chum den de chum den de. Anybody speak Tibetan? Chum den de means conqueror. It's the destruction of emotion. So it's an epithet for Buddha. So you can keep that in your mind, chum den de, as you're singing this melody that has a different meaning. Anyway, we go on, we're almost at the end. Christy, noted, smiling at me. Christy has a very nice smile, I have to say. All the way from Hong Kong. Okay. So a city I love, actually. But in any case, that, as I mentioned, this is just one part of, rituals have preliminaries, main practice, and dedication. If you can go to the next slide, please. You'll see that it's only one part of the preliminary practice that I've sort of unfolded a little for you. It's a very, very involved ritual. And so I think we can gain respect for these traditions, And across all tantric traditions, you have the 7 limb practice, whether it's action yoga, performance yoga, action tantra, performance tantra, yoga tantra, or highest yoga tantra. This is highest yoga tantra. Please go to the next slide. The actual practice, the accumulation of merits from giving the body through all these distributions of imagining the body transformed into all things needed and desired by others, very involved, not to say on one foot. And then please go ahead, the meditation on the emptiness of all that has been done, again, very involved. Please, the next slide. And the dedication of any merits accumulated to attain enlightenment for the benefit of all beings. Please, the next. And this is the last slide. This is a wonderful verse from the Che, which is really unique to Che in a way. And this is, tsedi yu tongpa jinji lo, nye jung changsem jongpa jinji lo, dame nye lo jongpa jinji lo, che yu taru jingpa jinji lo, which means, really beautifully, bless me to give up on this mundane, the worldly dharmas, right? The worldly pleasures. Bless me. Jinji lo means bless me. So the verb in Tibetan comes at the end of the sentence, right? Jinji lo means to bless me. Bless me to train in renunciation and bodhicitta, this altruistic sensibility. Bless me to realize selflessness, the true nature of all phenomena. And bless me to complete the cutting off of the object. Che literally means to cut. You're cutting off delusions. You're cutting, in a sense, the body and offering it, but more profoundly, you're cutting off the delusions. And so, last slide, please. Yeah. So I just thank you for your indulgence. I think we skipped over some things, but I wanted to just share with you a little of the dynamic aspect of how a ritual can help us to bring compassion into our lives if we study. And I think Emmanuel College, see, coming back, Emmanuel College is a place where, with compassionate care in community, I really, truly, from my heart, I really experienced this here, even now with you smiling at me. I feel this is a place where a certain kind of education can happen, especially when you're dealing with Buddhist practices, where you need time to develop your understandings and go deeper, and then come back to the beginning again, and then go deeper, and then come back to the start, right? And I really think this is a place where that kind of education can flourish. So I wish that for you this year. Thank you.
Well, what a rich banquet. We've been feasting on not just the actual vegetarian meal we had downstairs, but all these intellectual, spiritual, moral, ethnomusicologically, all these riches. It will take us the whole of the rest of the dragon year to come back in concentric circles. I'll give you a feminist image, a spiral.
Yeah.
Okay, so we go and then we come back, we learn more, and then so thank you for all the people who have planned this so beautifully. And okay, you do that because I didn't know how to do that. Oh, okay, thank you. Okay, if you can't hear, do something. So anyway, Jeffrey has and of course we learn things that we never knew, right? I mean, who knows that you could put ketchup on lobako. I have to redo mine too. But the thing is, the do's and don'ts, some of them sound strange, right? But Chinese is that kind of a language. We have a lot of homonyms. So the same word like yu is fish, it also means leftover. So you can have a lot of linguistic play with that. However, right now, as we conclude this wonderful sharing among us, and I hope we will continue, with all the snacks and goodies waiting for us, and also hongbao, red packets for each of us. So please don't go without a hongbao today. My challenge as a converted Christian, because I wasn't born a Christian, my family was just, sort of mixture of Taoist, Buddhist, Chinese religion, all kind of things. But I did go to a mission school, actually a convent school. So I almost became a Roman Catholic, but I didn't. Some of my siblings did. However, I had this email from one of my siblings who remembered her Lent practices in Hong Kong. And she said, when the Chinese New Year period coincided with Lent, our Archbishop would allow us not to fast on Ash Wednesday. And he gave us permission. But then he said, all the readings, the scripture, all the rituals, the prayers were all still Lenten readings. So she said, I'm still struggling. And I just happened to have shared my own struggle with her through this poem I'm going to share with you now. So she said, that really helps me. I'm going to now share with my prayer group. She runs a prayer group in San Francisco. Anyway, so in order for us to get to our, again, more goodies later to feast, I'm going to just make a quick transition to some reflections that came to me over the years as I got confronted with the coincidence or the overlapping of periods that you really are urged to, wear red and celebrate. But I look around, there are lots of reds. But it's also really, really interesting. Emmanuel has put its colors onto its shirts, right? And your t-shirts are now all purple, and that's an Emmanuel color. So I think this is a feast for the eyes, but also reminds us that quite often we live in a multiple world. There are multivalent things to attend to. So how do we humbly take the rest of this dragon year to meditate on them, sing with them, and intellectually also struggle with them, but maybe spiritually, humbly just accept them as facts. So here we go. I have a prelude that refers to two figures in my own life and in your life, and also my fellow Christians. And that's the Lamb, right? The Lamb, behold the Lamb of God. So there is Jesus, John the Baptist saying, this is the Lamb of God that takes away the sin of the world. But for us, Chinese Christians, we have this dragon, which is an imperial figure, right? And we are all descendants of this imperial figure. So go figure. So, with apologies to Blake and his poem called Tiger, Tiger Burning Bright, this is what I call a bridge to my reflection. Dragon, dragon flying high in the reaches of the sky, what immortal hand or eye dare frame thy noble symmetry? When the stars threw down their tears and watered heaven with their tears, did she smile her work to see? Did she who made the lamb make thee? Ash Wednesday, Chinese New Year's. Will there be ashes on my forehead today? Or will there be rejoicing instead, all dressed in bright, cheerful red, because it is New Year's Day? Will there be sobering thoughts of death when all of me wants to spread wings and sing, because it is the first day of a brand new year and the coming of the long-awaited spring? There should be flowers today on every table, smiles on every face, new clothes on every child, feasting from every kitchen as New Year visits are made. Yet today, there should also be serious meditation on the state of our souls, discussion on the state of our faith, resolves to fast, to abstain, to pray, even if not everyone has ashes on their forehead. Today, you see in me the intersection of two stories. Which should I honor above the other? My peoples or my faith communities? Do I have to choose? Oh, God of life, as of life's end, of nations and cultures and everything, teach me how to be your child. Teach me how to feast, yet not forget the fasting. Teach me how to repent, yet not forget the rejoicing. How to ponder and pray alone, yet not forget the visits to every home. Teach me to remind my children of this holy season, yet not forget to give them their red packets too. For Ash Wednesday or Chinese New Year's, this day is still the day you made. Let all the world rejoice and be glad in it. Amen.
We decided to be like we're singing into the same mic. Thank you, Winning. And our blessing is an interweaving of Christian and Buddhist ending words for
Yes.
rituals.
May the merit accumulated in our gathering today be offered equally among all sentient beings.
We have gathered here today to celebrate the beginning of a new year, to share the joy and learn the wisdom of customs familiar and strange, to revel in the energy and ethics of the dragon.
May all beings burdened with despair realize hope. May all beings bound by fear realize safety and refuge. May all beings for whom sadness and grief weighs heavily find comfort and community. May all beings lost in ignorance, grasping, and hatred realize a path towards wisdom and compassion.
Let us take these blessings into our hearts and go out into the world to share them with those who are in need.
May all beings live free from oppression and violence. May all beings live with dignity and justice. May all beings make right in all of their relations.
And may the love of God be with us.
May all wounds be healed. May all beings know joy and laughter. May all beings abide in peace and well-being. May all beings awaken and be free.
And may the grace of Christ dwell in us.
By the merit of our joining together in spiritual community,
May the Spirit bind us together in fellowship now and always.
may it be so.
So as we reminder, don't forget the goodies on the table. They're wonderfully laid out for all of us to enjoy and to pick your rack pocket before you go. Thank you so much.